I'm saying, like, as far as
Yeah, those two games are huge.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good evening from, or good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is, from all around the globe, sports fans. I, as you can tell, still am not Jeff Dawson. With me today for the SEC and Big Ten preview, typically is Jeff Dawson. Jeff Dawson is typically introducing me, but Jeff is still enjoying some nice time off. And with some huge SEC games today, I am bringing on our friend Kiefer over here. Kiefer, thank you for being with us.
Yes, sir.
This is my first official introduction as far as hosting, so I'm obviously
I'm
flying
honored.
right into it. But how's it going, man? We've got obviously one versus, at least if you're going by CFP rankings, 1 versus 3 the SEC. Whether or not it's the game of the year, I mean, if you want to call Tennessee, Alabama the game of the year, this is the game of the year, whatever is your prerogative. But not only that, but Alabama, LSU, another huge game, kind of precursor to setting up the other side of the SEC as well. And then maybe we'll dive into, there's a handful of games that have, I guess, more bowl implications than anything as far as the rest of the SEC slate. But anyways, how you doing? What's the excitement level for this weekend in SEC football, my friend?
It's huge. There's all kinds of big games. Alabama versus LSU, that's going to be a big dogfight. Kind of decides the SEC West. If Alabama was to win it, they've got to do is beat Ole Miss to win the West. So lots of division implications there. It's a big week in football, man. Big Ten as well. So I'm happy to jump into the games.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. We've got we'll save the SEC's controlling the college football world, so we'll save that. We'll blast through. I mean, there's a couple Big Ten games that there's a few that I'd like to talk about, and we usually go through all of them, but there's a few more this week. A couple that really aren't worth spending too much time on, so we'll blast right through those. But we won't waste too much time as far as so far the setup so far for college football. We've obviously had some action going on. I think we've got some. Not action tonight, but I know some. I think some mid-major games tonight as well. So depending on how much time, maybe we'll save those for last if we haven't gone too long. But let's get right into it, man. Big Ten football. Like I said, the biggest game still looming as far as Ohio State, Michigan, obviously. The other, the second and third biggest games, whatever you want to call them, with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Penn State have left us in the past. So we've got the Ohio State, Michigan game to look forward to, and now the Big Ten West, as far as people like me, obviously, still losing their minds over it. The rest of the nation probably doesn't care as much about Illinois and Purdue and whoever else, but a couple of games between those two teams playing games that should set up next week a potential almost winner-take-all scenario for the Big Ten West as far as Illinois, Purdue. Not enough people giving Purdue credit. They are hosting Iowa this week, and actually, wow, I did not over the last hour or so since I was looking at this right before the show. This one has dropped to full point. Iowa and Purdue. Now I'm seeing 3.5. It was 4.5. Seriously, I think 2 hours ago, if not less than that, it was 4.5. So now I'm seeing 3.5. Total 39.5, 40. I think that's come down a little bit as well. But as far as, the narrative around this game, obviously everyone's still, despite they put up 33 points obviously last week, but it was against Northwestern. So everyone kind of just, it's Northwestern, roll right along. And so the narrative still is how bad this Iowa offense is. Obviously, their defense is solid, but if you've been listening or anyone's been listening to Jeff and I talk about these Big Ten shows, I obviously have been the leader of the Big Ten or the Purdue hype train outside of Purdue fans themselves. So. I think this one's an interesting one. It's obviously kind of a clash of styles, but I don't think people are giving enough credit to Purdue's defense. I'm not saying it's top of the Big Ten or deserves to be talked about in the same category as the top of the Big Ten, but their run defense is good enough. Obviously, their pass defense isn't good, but Spencer Petras obviously isn't putting any fear into you as far as Iowa's offense is concerned. So as long as they can slow down Iowa's run or a rushing attack, if that's what Iowa's looking to do, then I don't see Iowa still putting up many points in this game. And the other factor of it, as far as Iowa's Iowa's defense, who obviously has looked very good. This is going to be the third best offense that they've faced, Kiefer. I mean, you look through their schedule. It's Ohio State and Michigan, and they got the doors beaten off of them for the most part. They played a decent game against Michigan. Yeah. All these other games, you might look at it and say Illinois, but Illinois, Tommy DeVito goes down in the first half of that game, and then it's Arthur Sitkowski, who's worse than Spencer Petras in my mind. So that's nothing right there. So it's hard to do. And so now you're looking at by far the third best offense that they've faced, and it's really not close, especially when you consider the Illinois, the way that game shook out. So the point drop is interesting to me. I'm not sure what to make of that right now. But at the end of the day, I like this Purdue team. I don't think they're looking ahead because it is next week with Illinois if they're able to get this one. And then if they win that one, then they've got the tiebreaker for the Big Ten West. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this one? I'm a little hesitant as far as getting into this game betting-wise, but I do feel good about Purdue having a better defensive showing than people are giving them credit for, and then doing enough offensively to pace them here.
It's just you don't have to do that much offensively to outscore Iowa. I know they – what was it, 30, however many last week against Northwestern, but that's 1-7 Northwestern. They're horrible. I just can't gauge how good Iowa is. They're so boring to watch. Purdue is not that bad. No. I know I'm going back to last season, but they beat Tennessee in the bowl game, scored like 50-something points. I think I like Purdue in this, especially at the -3.5. I like that number a lot more than the 4.5.
Okay. No, I'm with you. And the other part, they're coming off of a bye. They're coming off of a loss. They go to Wisconsin and get a spot where I called BS as far as them being underdogs, and obviously wasn't BS. But and in that case, I think that's more about Wisconsin than it was about them. Honestly, I think Wisconsin's kind of changed with the coaching change. They're kind of changing their type. We'll get to them in a second as far as their game, but. I think Purdue. If this was at Iowa, it might be a different story, and I might give Iowa a chance to win like a 13-10 disgusting game or something like that. But I like Purdue's defense enough. Their running backs, I guess, are a little bit injured, so that's definitely a question mark in this one. But we can move off of this one. But I've got enough faith in Purdue, and maybe that's just me hoping that they set up a winner. And not necessarily winner take all. They've still got a couple games after. It would be the Big Ten West big game of the year, and then after that they played Northwestern in Indiana. So if they beat Illinois and then choke in any of those games, then that's obviously it's not happening. It's not happening. So we'll move off of that one. But it's a tough spot to get into. But I like Purdue to take care of business there. So mentioned Wisconsin. They are. These lines, and I'm almost respecting it quite a bit as far as the setting of these lines. Hosting Maryland this time around, after what I mentioned, they obviously beat Purdue, and then they've had a bye themselves, so they are still sitting in that one. Got that win at home. Now they are home again for Maryland. Maryland 6-2, Wisconsin 4-4. I think a lot of people that have been watching Wisconsin are probably haven't watched a ton of Maryland, but probably still pretty surprised to see Maryland as a 5-point underdog here. So, like I said, I kind of see this as a statement being made. I think the tide maybe has turned a little bit. Their offense has been head and shoulders better than what it was before Paul Chryst was fired. The interesting thing, and I haven't been, I honestly haven't been getting involved into these. They've had 6 straight games go to the over. After their first 2 weeks, they blew my Illinois State Redbirds, shut them out, and that one was like just stayed under, and Illinois State didn't score any points. And then their game against Washington State stayed under. Ever since then, they've either had a nice offensive showing or gotten their butts kicked by Illinois, Ohio State, and given up a ton of points. But now holding Purdue to 24 points was honestly pretty damn impressive. And Maryland, ever since it's been close to 10 years since they've come into the Big Ten, and they're going to go to a bowl game. Obviously, this is going to be one of the better years since they've been in the Big Ten. I don't know. Maryland, I've talked about this with Jeff. They've had a couple times, and they played Michigan well. That was one of the better spots that they've been in as far as actually like giving respect to themselves. But they've been in so many spots as far as kind of a statement win as far as supplanting themselves as a team to be respected in the Big Ten, and they've fallen on their face every single time. So I'm kind of leaning on that and expecting that a little bit here. As far as the 5, that is still surprising to me, and wouldn't surprise me if Maryland can slide in the back door or something like that. But I don't know. This one kind of seems to me like Wisconsin's changed their tides, and is honestly in for a nice night. Or I think it's the early game tomorrow or Saturday.
Yes, 11 a.m.
Yeah, Saturday. So I don't know. At Wisconsin, the vibes are changing is kind of what I'm saying.
I like one play in this game. And I'll tell you why. It's Maryland team total over 23.5.
Okay.
They've scored over that in every game this season. Every single game.
Yeah.
The last 5 for Wisconsin, they've given it up in every game but one.
Right.
I like, 62 Maryland. They're not favored. 23.5. They, like I said, scored it every game this season. That's my play for the game. I don't know who wins, but 23.5 points is happening from the Terrapins.
Okay. I can see it, man. And that's the thing. That's the other thing. The last 2-3 years, because I don't know what year he is now, Graham Mertz, as far as Wisconsin's quarterback, but he's been there 2-3 years.
He's been there forever.
And you get to these, you get to these points where it's like, okay, you start to put 2 or 3 games together, and it's like, all right, is this the Wisconsin offense? And Graham Mertz freshman year when he comes out, and everyone thinks he's the the next
5 tuds
thing
in the first game.
Yeah, and then it's 2-3 games in a row, and then that next one is a total dud. So I don't know if that's what to expect. So essentially, I don't hate what you're saying at all, because even if the tides are turning, it's not like their defense has been fantastic. I mean, like I said, holding Purdue to 24 was fairly impressive, but Maryland's offense I would put in the same category as Purdue. So I'm kind of with you on that one.
I was impressive game. I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of interested in the over on this one as well because of what I was saying about Wisconsin's offense.
Right, 50.5.
50.5, depending on where you're looking. It was a little puzzling as far as last week. And again, 6 straight overs, which maybe people haven't been turned on to, because I didn't even realize that was happening. 51.5 last week, and it went over pretty easy. So it was honestly, why is this one lower than last week? But or 2 weeks ago against Purdue. But I don't know that there's anything to make of it. Honestly, I think they've had 2 totals of at least 50, and they've gone over both times, Purdue and then Ohio State. So. I mean, Maryland's offense is good as long as they're not getting totally out physical, which Wisconsin's defense really hasn't done in a few weeks. They should be fine. So I could totally see what you're saying there as far as this one. All right, so let's see. The next 2 we can breeze right through. Minnesota, Nebraska. Jeff and I usually spend a second on Nebraska. That's Jeff usually has better insights than I do as far as Nebraska. So
Minnesota
this time around,
16.
I know. This time around, and Minnesota, the wheels have kind of fallen off as far as this was the other type train that I was all over, and then the last.
They were hot at the beginning of the year.
They were last week, so they bounced back. Everyone obviously stopped paying attention to them. They beat the doors off, and it's obviously nothing crazy to write home about. 31-0 over Rutgers. Who Rutgers defense is no slouch, but 31-0. And Nebraska obviously 3-5 falls to Illinois in fairly ugly fashion. So it's interesting. Minnesota 5-3. They finish, obviously, this game, Northwestern, Iowa, and Wisconsin, they can still finish top 25, have a really nice 8-9 win season. And so I expect them to take care of business here. I think, Nebraska's defense obviously is still continued to be as ugly as it was earlier in the season. And,
26 to Illinois.
I know.
43 to Purdue.
Yeah, and Tanner Morgan obviously was hotter in the early parts of the season, kind of as you're saying, with Minnesota. But if you're giving him a bad defense, I like him to do enough. And then I've been talking about all season Mohamed Ibrahim, and if he's if you're giving him space, he's going to dominate you himself. So I expect Minnesota to win. But as far as the spread or any totals or anything like that, I really don't know what to do here.
Yeah, that's 16 is a big number. Steering clear.
Yeah, no, I think it's a safe play. I'm we'll see.
I'm looking at the numbers from their last 5s, and I mean, they're so all over the place.
Yeah,
there probably is no play in this game that you can find.
And honestly, maybe you lean on them getting back to them, like finding a way to lose by 1 score, and maybe you find a way to. I don't know. So yeah, if you're wagering on Nebraska and holding out any hope, I think you've probably you've got
lost a problem.
And I think you probably lost steam on it a few weeks ago. So next one. We'll breeze right through. I do have one thing to mention on it. Ohio State at Northwestern, 38-point spread here. The one thing to mention, and I mentioned this early in the season to Jeff, and somehow it is the first case of it being at least within the conference. These 11 a.m. games at Northwestern in Evanston in October, November, especially when they're 1-7. I looked up ticket prices. You and I could go for both of us probably under $50 total as far as going to this game and sitting in pretty decent seats. It is going to be a snooze fest. It is, unless Ohio State is. I don't know. They have to get. I'm not suggesting Northwestern has a chance in this game. I want to make sure I'm choosing my words carefully. I'm not suggesting they have a chance of keeping it within 3 scores. All I'm saying is this one might start out a lot slower than people are expecting here, and I would not be touching Ohio State minus 38. At least maybe in the full game, the first half though. But what I'm saying is Northwestern has won 3 straight of these Big Ten home games at 11 o'clock in the early parts of the slate. It's just a total snooze fest. Teams roll in still groggy-eyed. They're waiting for the crowd to go wild. It's non-existent. Credit to them. When they're playing well and they're good, then it's a different story. But it's going to be a total snooze fest, man. I could see Ohio State kind of sleepwalking through this first half here. So you can call me crazy all you want, but I'm interested in Northwestern's first half, keeping this within 3 scores. If you can call me crazy all you want. They've covered 4 straight of these Big Ten noon games, and it's against some good teams. And teams roll in here expecting to beat the doors off of them. They overlook them, and then they realize how much of a snooze fest it is. And the next thing you know, it's 17-10 at half, and then maybe Ohio State steps on the gas in the second half. That's why I'm staying away from 38. But I don't know. I think they can keep it within 3 scores in the first half.
22.5 first half.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I don't know.
You can call me crazy all you want.
I've been riding the Ohio State first half every game.
Yeah, that's
and
what
I
I'm saying.
lost last week, of course, with Penn State.
This doesn't make any. I'm just telling you, there's just something weird about these Northwestern early games. That's all I'm saying. It's really not about X's and O's. It's really just about these teams walk in here expecting to destroy them, and then it's a total snooze fest. And sometimes Northwestern wins. That's not going to be the case here. Ohio State's obviously 1,000,001 times more talented than them, and then maybe they'll be fine, and maybe they put up 20 points in the first 10 minutes. That also wouldn't surprise me. But I'm kind of just this is just one of those Big Ten things that I've seen throughout my entire life, where these early Northwestern games at home are just weird. And you just don't know what to expect, and then the next thing you know, they're competing for at least the first half. So that's all I'm saying here. If Ohio State is Ohio State, then obviously I've got egg in my face. But I'm not running to the window, screaming and jumping and clicking my heels. But it's something to mention. I feel like in this game here. Let's see. So we got 3 more, and then we'll be moving on to the SEC, the meat of the schedule here for college football. On my hat here, we got Illinois fighting Illini, 7-1, should be 8-0. It drives me nuts that they lost to Indiana earlier in the season here, but hosted Michigan State, 3-5 Michigan State. This one is a now 17 and a half point spread it has climbed up to. I don't know. You and I were talking off air yesterday, and I still, of all the surprising basketball teams or basketball schools, quote unquote, that are performing well, this is the one, and I'm an Illinois fan, that still just doesn't compute to me. So when I see them favored by 17 over any Big Ten school that isn't Northwestern,
it's Michigan State.
It's Michigan State, man, and Illinois has actually played Michigan State well even when Illinois has been bad, they've played Michigan State pretty well. But I don't know. Michigan State's defense is horrendous. Yeah. Their offense isn't. I wouldn't call it horrendous, but they don't have any explosive players on it. So, they really have to play a perfect game offensively to really stay in these games. And Illinois' defense has been obviously fantastic. If this was in Michigan State, it'd be another one where maybe I'd be a little concerned. But I think it's a double-sided, the total only at 41.5. But I think the team total of 12.5 for Michigan State was real. I mean, they're really making a statement with Illinois' defense. I don't know that they're going to win that heavily as far as their defensive side of it. And
12.5 is so low.
I know.
So
honestly,
low.
it kind of. I kind of see it being a similar game as what Illinois did. I think that's why they.
But they've only given it up. They've only given up more than 12.5 one time in their last 5.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to the under on Illinois and Michigan State, I can endorse that for sure. That is definitely a statement. I guess what I was about to say, I could see it being very similar to the Nebraska game that Illinois played last week, where it's 26-9, and their defense is fantastic. Their offense is good enough. Because it's Michigan State's pass defense that is horrendous. Their run defense isn't as bad, and obviously Illinois' rushing attack has been very good. So I don't know. That's kind of where I see it. I could see it being a 27-10, 30-10 type game. So I think maybe Michigan State under their team total might be the play. But
that's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, if that's where you're looking to, I think that's where to go. And unless you think Illinois is really gonna pour it on their defense as well, who's obviously been really, really bad. Either way, I think it's going to be a double.
And do you think Michigan State's been paying any attention to the practice, like what's going on in practice this week? I don't know. I think we've lost Riley here. Maybe I'm frozen. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. We'll see.
Do you have me back now?
Oh, you're back. Yes.
Okay. No,
Okay.
that was 100% on my fault. Sorry, my internet cut out for a second. I should be good to go. My bad.
I think the
don't know if
12
you
and a
said
half.
anything.
Yeah, the 12 and a
Go ahead.
half.
Okay.
That's probably what I'm going to play,
Okay.
We'll see.
And Michigan State 3-5. They should have 2 winnable games after this, but they might not make a bowl game if they lose this game. They've still got Penn State on their schedule as well. So if they lose this, you assume Penn State's obviously going to step on the pedal last game of the season and get it done. So
I doubt Michigan State's been very focused on practice this week with all the things going on.
I didn't even think about that. Right.
So 12 and a half under. Smash
I like it. I'm glad you mentioned that. Honestly, that totally slipped my mind.
Hey, you got players going to jail, man.
Right, man. I totally forgot about that. That's not nothing. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That is worth something there. And like I said, they just don't have any explosiveness offensively.
Right.
It's not their defense is what's been the reason why they're 3-5. But yeah, their offense, Kenneth Walker's gone. Whoever else, nobody is there as far as explosiveness. So last 2 we can breeze through really quick. I didn't even really have much notes on this one. Penn State, Indiana, 14-point spread. This one feels pretty spot on to me. A lot of people, it looks like, are all over Penn State in this one, though, as far as
team total of 31 and a half. I don't know about it.
I don't know. I could see it landing right on 31. Indiana's defense, it's not good. It's not quite as bad as like Michigan State, Nebraska, but it's pretty close. It's bad. So if Penn State's looking to put the hammer down, I could see a lot of
Michigan put up 31. I don't know.
On Indiana. Yep.
Yes.
No, I don't know. I'm kind of with you on this one. The only thing is that Penn State looking to bounce back and maybe make some style points or something. But I'm with you at Indiana, especially. I could see this one landing right on like 13-14 and maybe 13-17 or something like that. I don't know. So, Emma, any thoughts from you? We got one more here.
I don't know if Penn State gets to 31. I also don't know if it gets to 50 and a half. I don't know. I'm probably not touching that game.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not one worth betting on, I don't think, in that one. So, Michigan and Rutgers is the last one, the only late game on the Big Ten slate, and then we will be moving to the big boys in the SEC after this. 4-4 Rutgers, actually. They've obviously benefited. They've played the easier parts of their schedule, but 2 games will get them into a bowl. They do have Michigan and Penn State, so it's going to have to be Michigan State and Maryland being the upsets, so I'm not going to pencil that one in. But I don't know. This one, Rutgers, actually, if you remember, Rutgers gave them a run for their money earlier on in Michigan's nice season last year, 20-13. Rutgers' defense is actually really good. So, again, it's one hand. Rutgers' defense is actually pretty solid. Of these bottom-tier Big Ten teams, they are by far the one that has the best, like, whether it's offensive or defense. I guess Iowa's defense you would put in that category as well. But Rutgers' defense is not, they've gotten their doors beat off them a couple times. Obviously, bad week last week against Minnesota. But you have a 13-14 loss to Nebraska on the books. And Nebraska's offense is, capable of scoring, obviously. And there's some other ones down the line. After last year, I kind of see Michigan as I think they're kind of pissed off that it was as close as it was, and they almost kind of probably treat that as a quote unquote loss. So I see them in their season when they're still undefeated. They've got Nebraska next week, so it's not so much of a look ahead spot. I think they beat the doors off of Rutgers here. Let me double check what their team totals was. I mean, the 20. Honestly, I could see them winning by 4 scores in this one. I don't typically.
I like the 26.
Yeah, I don't typically like laying these. They're 35.5 team total. I could see both of them happening, but I think they're
14.5 first half.
Okay. I actually like that. I'm glad you mentioned that one. I see them beating the doors off of Rutgers here today, or tomorrow, or Saturday. Sorry, I get my days mixed up whenever we're recording this one early. But anyways, I think the Michigan, they're I don't know. I've used this twice now. It's the first time I've ever used it on the show. The vibes of this team are in the right direction. And after last year's close game, I think they win this one running away. I might even lay the 26.5, or like you said, that first half, the 14.5 doesn't sound bad to me either.
It's gonna be a good game. If Rutgers keeps it close.
If Rutgers keeps it close, another Rutgers.
I like watching a good Michigan sweat off.
Yeah, definitely. So that about does it for the Big Ten. Not the best week as far as some of these billing games. Need Illinois and Purdue so we can get a nice Big Ten West huge showdown next week. Just a quick preview. Again, not a great week next week. As long as that Illinois Purdue game sets up, that'll be the game of the day next week. Nebraska, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, Maryland. It's probably the second best game of the day on that one. So that is Week 10 of the Big Ten. We now move the first time that we got to now that the Big Ten and SEC. The SEC has obviously been king for a while, but now that the SEC and Big Ten are kind of separating themselves, we might have to keep this one on football keep this one on deck for next year as well, as far as the Big Ten and SEC. So
because they're taking
I don't know.
over.
Did you have any other ones other than the big two that you wanted to talk about? Because I know there's some other good games on the slate. Obviously, not getting the national recognition, obviously, but
I'm going to talk about Auburn and Mississippi State as well.
Okay.
Other than the big two.
And then I kind of wanted to throw in Kentucky and Missouri just because 1 point spread, that one could at least be a good game. So
40.5 too.
Do you want to start right there real quick, and then if you don't have thoughts, we can breeze right past it. But Kentucky, Missouri. I see actually on different books. I see two. Kentucky has a 1 point dog on one book. I see Missouri has a 1.5 point dog on another book. So it's been interesting. These two teams, 5-3. Kentucky coming off of a blowout loss at Tennessee, obviously, and Missouri coming off of two wins. They've obviously had the 3-point loss to Auburn, which they should have won. That was one of my worst beats of the year as far as Missouri money line on that one, Kiefer. The rough loss to Georgia would have been the upset of the year.
The field goal sesh, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then they fumbled at the goal line in overtime to win, and then Auburn recovered in the end zone. And then they lost a one-score loss at Florida. Now they won 2 in a row. Are you buying Missouri in this game with the close line and the way they've gone, or you think it's their best days are behind them and this is all Kentucky? They're the
I don't know. Kentucky
superior team here.
Kentucky's kind of on the downward trend.
Yeah.
They lost to South Carolina, Ole Miss. Who else? I mean, last week Tennessee, of course.
Tennessee. That's it.
Yeah.
They got 3 losses. Those are 3. Yep.
Yeah, they're not looking that great. They probably don't have. They got the Heisman number 1 draft pick quarterback that sucks. I mean, I don't even know how they're still talking about that guy.
Right.
He can hardly throw 10 yards.
Yeah. They had the close game with Northern Illinois. That was the one you mentioned off air. We were talking yesterday. That was the other kind of basically quote unquote loss. If you're looking at how good they are, is the 8-point win over Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Not great. Not great. You'd expect. I mean, they were a top 10 team when they lost, when they almost beat or almost lost to Northern Illinois. It's crazy.
Right.
I don't know. I think Kentucky probably goes down here. Maybe get a little Missouri plus money if you can find it on the right book.
Okay. I mean, another one, early game in Missouri. I don't know. Could be a little. They got a better fan base. It's not the same situation as that Northwestern situation that I painted for you. Missouri's obviously got a better, especially when they're all right, better fan base than or better scene, I would say, than Northwestern does as comparison to that one. But I don't know. It could be early snooze fest for Kentucky. I don't know. So what was the other one you want to mention? Auburn, Mississippi State.
Yeah, Auburn, Mississippi State. They played last year. Auburn was up like 28-3 and lost like 41-34 or something like that. I mean, completely off the rails. Auburn also just fired their head coach this week.
Yeah.
The line's Mississippi State -13. Auburn's got Cadillac Williams as coach. I mean, maybe that's a spark they needed. I don't know if they're going to be able to. I don't know if Mississippi State's going to win by 13 though. I mean, the over's 51.5. I lean towards that. Auburn's been putting up some points. Mississippi State's putting up points. Could be a big scoring game.
You like the game over? That's what you're saying? The game over?
51.
Okay. Auburn's defense is bad, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes out with. I mean, it's on the road, so I don't know if this was at home. Maybe coaching change. Maybe their defense steps up, but I could see it for sure. And you got Mississippi State coming off of not only 2 losses, but 2 ugly losses with bad offensive showings.
And they were scoring 40 plus a game.
Yeah.
So look for them to get back in tune against the Auburn.
Okay.
Lackluster
I like that
D.
one. I like that one a lot. All right. So, not South Carolina. Vandy, nothing crazy, I assume.
Liberty, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze he can never beat Arkansas. Arkansas is -13.5. Liberty's 7-1, and they've been, playing very good football. But no chance. I mean, Arkansas is going to win by 13.5.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze cannot cover versus Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. I almost said Auburn. Arkansas has kind of figured themselves out again after their little kind of lull that they had. Right, they've looked really good the last 2 weeks. 52 and 41 the last 2 weeks. So, that one could be a big offensive showing again there. Let's see, Florida A&M is the other one. Anything to mention on that one?
A&M started their freshman quarterback. He was a 5-star. I'm pretty sure. I like everybody else on their team. He looked decent. Their offense actually had some spark last week. I don't know how good Florida is. They've been very lackluster all year. Put up 35 against LSU, but like in the last 5 minutes of the game, like garbage time. A&M minus 3.5. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. Yeah, both these teams. I mean, 3-5 A&M after this. Yeah, weren't they top 10 preseason?
Oh yeah, they lost to
that's what I
App
thought.
State.
Right.
Barely beat Miami. Ole Miss beat them. I mean, they're horrible.
Yeah, lost that. I was going to say their last 4. I mean, there's some good teams, but then you sprinkle in that South Carolina game as what should have been the get right game
suck.
or whatever. Yeah. And Florida, obviously, Florida's been all over the place as well. So, all right, let's get into which one do you want to start with? You want to go with Bama LSU first, or you want to go to all right, let's go Bama LSU. I'm seeing on most books 13.5, it looks like. If you see 13, let me know, or anything else, let me know. But 7-1 Alabama in Baton Rouge for 6-2 LSU. A lot of people complaining outside of SEC circles, complaining LSU jumps all the way to 10 in the CFP after the win over Ole Miss last week. 2 weeks ago, I should say. Very convincing win. What are you thinking? Bama 20-14 win last year as 29.5 point favorites. Like you said, this is a huge setup for the rest of the way. So where are you leaning as far as this one's concerned?
I want LSU to beat Bama. I don't think it's going to happen. But the total for this game, 56.5, is way too low, I feel like. LSU's put up 45 a game last couple. Alabama's obviously got a great offense. They don't have very many good receivers, but LSU's rush defense sucks. So 56.5, I know last year it was 20-14, but Kelly doesn't have the juice, I don't think.
I like it, man. No, I mean, at least one of these offenses is going to be high flying, I think, and I think it could be both of them. I'm with you, man. LSU, you had the loss against Tennessee, and they got completely blown out. They had some goofy mistakes to where I don't think it was as bad.
It was 21-0 in the first 3 minutes or something like that.
It was.
What do you do?
I don't want to say fluky by any means. Tennessee beat the doors off of them. It's just there was some goofy, kind of
muff punts.
Shock play, fluky plays almost that inflated it from what should have been maybe 27-14 or something like that to 40-13. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit there. And then obviously you had the opening season loss to FSU on the schedule that people are forgetting. Maybe you're holding them to that or not, but I don't know. I give them more of a chance, especially in LSU. The place is going to be absolutely insane. One of my favorite atmospheres, not only LSU at night, but LSU Alabama at night. One of my favorite, if not my favorite atmosphere. In all of college football. So gun to your head, do you think they cover, or if you had to choose a spread? No.
Alabama.
Fair enough. All right. Let's see where we at here. All right. So 1 versus 3, at least in the CFP rankings. 1 versus 3. Tennessee at Georgia. Looks like all of the money, or at least earlier. I haven't checked lately, but a lot of the money, a lot of the Twitter pages, the betting. The sports books and whatnot, putting out all the bet splits as far as everybody in the world on Tennessee. Very similar situation to what was happening in that Alabama game as well, though.
Yep.
So I'm seeing on DraftKings 7.5 in favor of Georgia. The FanDuel still got 8.5, 66.5, 65.5 on the total. Is this going to be a similar situation, and Tennessee's going to either win or give them a run for their money, and the public's going to win big on this one, or is this anyone who's fading the public going to be rolling in cash on Saturday afternoon?
The books better get ready because they're going to be losing a lot on Tennessee. I mean, the last game that this Tennessee's team didn't score 30-plus points was Georgia last year. This is a totally different team, though. I know it's the same quarterback, same receivers, but how seamless their offense works is 100 times better than last year.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I mean, their offense is great. My lock of the week, and I'll say lock, Tennessee over 13.5 for the first half. Okay. It's happening. They're scoring points. They've cashed it every week this year. They've cashed their over first quarter, over first half, and the spreads.
Yeah.
But the team total 13.5 for the first half for the Vols. I mean, Georgia's defense is good, but they lost how many people? I mean, I know they're good, but like how many people did they lose, and how good are they? I don't know.
You and I were talking off air. It's that one. I'm not that they've obviously been good the entire season. They had the unbelievable performance opening. I don't remember if it was week 0, week 1, whatever it was.
Week 0 against Oregon.
It was week 0. Okay, yeah, the 3-point. That one was still the most eye-opening one. excuse me, since then, the last couple they've been obviously very good defensively, but it's Vandy as far as one of the worst teams in the SEC. Obviously, we just talked about Auburn and all their problems. Missouri hung tight with them. Gave up 22 to Kent State, which everyone was kind of billing as a little.
They're giving
fluky.
22 to Kent State.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying. And then the first three, Samford and South Carolina after the Oregon games. Who cares? So I'm kind of it's the best test that they've had since. Georgia, I'm saying, at best test they've had defensively at the end of the season. Like you said, I think we will really find out just how good this Georgia defense is. Obviously, if they beat the doors off of Tennessee with their defense, then obviously people are going to give them a lot more respect. But
right,
again, like you said, it is a very good defense, but it's a step down from last year, I think. And this Tennessee offense is they're on a mission, man, and it's been. Coming from someone who is outside of SEC country, I love the SEC, but it's been awesome for college football, man. As far as the buzz around at least someone else in an atmosphere that is awesome, and it's been awesome to consume and watch. So I hope they can keep it rolling. I hope one of these teams is knocking off Bama and representing the SEC. If I don't know. Are you as far as we can wrap this up, and then as far as I don't know. Any interest in the CFP talk for a half a second before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
What are the chances? Are you almost guaranteeing two SEC teams in the CFP?
Yes.
Or is there a scenario? I don't know what the scenario is without two teams, honestly.
Tennessee wins this weekend. They're going to the SEC championship, of course.
Right.
Bama, if they go to the SEC championship and beat Tennessee, I can see both getting in.
Correct.
Tennessee beats Bama in the SEC championship, I see Georgia getting in still, and vice versa. I don't see very many, if any, scenarios where there's not two SEC teams in the playoff.
I think it's like the only one that you would even fathom, but then I think with the eye test, you would call BS on it. Ohio State, if Ohio State goes undefeated, they're also in. That's another.
100%.
Yeah, that's no doubt. That's not even worth talking about. Clemson, if they go undefeated, I don't think they're better than these teams that we're talking about. That's the one. That's another scenario. And then
I just think they get throttled by any of the Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee.
I think they will end up being undefeated. Again, I don't remember if it was you and I talking about. They could even lose to Notre Dame this weekend. Notre Dame's obviously playing a lot better, so who knows? And then TCU, who I think everyone else assumes that they're going to lose at some point here, whether it's Texas or anyone else. If they are undefeated, though, that would be the scenario. But they
have to get in if they're undefeated.
Yeah,
but what if they don't? What if they don't put them in?
Right, and that's kind of the statement that was. I mean, they've got one loss Alabama ahead of them right now, so they're kind of making a statement like, be careful. Like, we might not put them in even if they're undefeated. So.
It's just it's the tale as old as time. Cincinnati getting in last year, getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah,
the first game.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. Like TCU could be undefeated. They're still not that good compared to these other teams.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll clip that one and get 100,000 views probably.
Right. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they might even beat Texas, but then lose to like Texas Tech or Iowa State or some goofy like that. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all. So, and then obviously if Michigan beats Ohio State and then wins the Big Ten, they're also on. Whoever's undefeated out of the Big Ten is getting in for sure. And if I'm hoping for some type of chaos and the Big Ten has a one-loss Michigan or Ohio State in there. I'm not holding my breath for that, but. And then the Pac-12 has kind of played themselves out of at least this conversation. If they kind of need some help from either TCU or Clemson. So I'm with you. I'd be if there's somewhere to bet where two SEC teams are getting in the playoff, I'm going to be betting on that if that's possible. So what's your prediction? Last thing, and then we'll close it out. What's your Final Four prediction as of right now for the college football playoff?
In no order: Tennessee. Sure. Ohio State, because they're not losing to Michigan again.
No.
Clemson, I don't think they're going to lose again. You got to put them in there.
Yep.
As painful as that is. Georgia. I think Tennessee beats Bama twice.
Okay. I'm trying to think now because I can absolutely get behind that. Ohio State and Clemson, I agree with you. I don't think either of them are losing. Mm-hmm. I think Michigan's better than them. I think Alabama's better than them. But the schedule is the schedule. I think they'll roll through. And And maybe they lose to Notre Dame, and obviously, we can take them out of the. I kind of hope that happens.
Please.
I kind of hope it happens,
Please
honestly,
lose.
because I think it would make things a lot more interesting. So I do hope that happens. But I'll go Ohio State, Clemson. I'll give Tennessee the win this weekend with you, and then but I'll give Alabama in the rematch. So I'll go Alabama getting the win and getting in, and then let's play that scenario out. You've got Tennessee losing in the SEC championship. I guess it would be Tennessee because they have the tiebreaker over Georgia then. So yeah. So then it would be Tennessee, right? So that's my prediction then. Ohio State, Clemson, Tennessee,
It's gonna get crazy.
Bama.
It's gonna get crazy in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. And then, if hopefully Clemson loses, then maybe we get some serious chaos and another, one of these one-loss teams getting in. So I appreciate you very much, my friend, for doing this with me. We've got to do more of these with the Big Ten and SEC. A lot of people obviously care about SEC, probably more than Big Ten. So, we've got
I don't
do
know.
more
There's
of these
crazies on all parts of the country.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much for anyone watching along. Jeff Dawson will be back very soon. Not sure exactly when his schedule is getting him back. Him and I will actually be doing some double Big Ten football and Big Ten basketball coming up soon on these Big Ten previews. College basketball getting started soon, so I am very, very excited for that. I know he is excited as well. We might have to do a double Big Ten Big East as far as that is concerned.
I would watch it.
Yeah, I mean the guy knows his Big Ten Big East,
Big East
college football as well. So thank you very much for anyone who's watching. Not sure what other content we'll have the rest of the week here. We'll try and keep you posted as best as we can. Still no Jeff Dawson. He is enjoying some time off. So please wager responsibly, whether that's tonight's or on these college football games that we're talking about. We want you sticking around for the long haul, as Jeff Dawson always says. So thank you for stopping along. We will get on out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. And stay posted on all the content we've got coming the rest of the week. Thanks, everybody.